Going over the study guide and the practice test solution set, right? So for my A-Day students, you guys take the test tomorrow. I have a surprise for you. Make sure you bring your study guide to class, okay? All right. So number 1, we see that the 0.24 works for the first equation, but not the second. So it is not a solution, right? Not a solution. And we went over this in class today. On number 2, we see that it works for both, therefore it is a solution. And keep in mind, when you're watching this video, you can pause and stop and rewind and look at all of the steps, right? On number 3, we graph the two equations. I use purple for the first and pink for the second, and the one shared solution that they cross over together is right here, 1, -2. On number 4, we know that they are shared solutions, right? So it's a set of solutions with inequalities. The blue line is first, and I know that I'm shading below because it says that y is less than -3, so it can't be above -3. So I shared below that. And on the second line in pink, it says that y is greater than 1, so I shared the positive. And the purple, where they cross over together, are the shared solutions. On number 5, I use substitution, solving for x, and then substituting solve for y. Again, all of these I explained in class today, so I'm going to kind of briefly go through these to get to the practice test. On number 6, I solved using elimination because I can see that if only this was one was positive y and one was negative y, when I add the equations, then my y value would eliminate. But I could do that, so that's why I multiplied the second equation by -4, so I could eliminate when I added up, eliminating those y's, right? I solve for x, and then I substitute in to solve for y. On the next page, we're using our elimination on the first one to see that it's not a solution because everything eliminated, the x and the y's, but 10 plus 10 is 20, so 0 does not equal 20, so it's not a solution. And on number 8, it's set up to substitute, and when I substituted in for the y value, I see that the x's eliminate, and I get 4 equals 4, which is 2. So I know that is infinite many solutions. On number 9, I have a perimeter problem. So I first start by drawing my rectangle and then reminding myself that I have 2 lengths and 2 widths. So that gives me my formula. Perimeter equals 2 lengths plus 2 widths. And then what does it tell us? Well, it tells us that the rectangle is 36 inches, right? And because it tells us that, we know we can equal it to be that. Then it also tells us that the length is 5 more than the width. So I write the second equation here, and I can substitute to solve. Once I know that the width is 9, I can substitute back in to solve for the length. On number 10, I immediately start by drawing this rectangle, and I set up that x plus y is going to be a rate and x minus y is another rate. And then I fill in what I know. What I know is that with the help of the current, it will be faster, and that's why this is 2. And against the current, it will take longer, and that's why we put the 3 there. And the distance is always the same for both. In Chapter 1 and in pre-algebra, we learned that if a value of x or y is added or subtracted to something else, it's a family. And so we must use the distributive property. So we distributed the 2 across here, getting our next equation here. And we distributed the 3, getting 3x minus 3y equals 6. Then I went ahead and solved by elimination because we always eliminate the y value with these types of problems because they are already opposite values from each other. So when we get the same, they will eliminate. So obviously the same here is going to be between 2 and 3 is 6. So I multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 2. And I add up, and now I eliminate. Eliminated the y's. I add up, I get 6x plus 6x is 12x equals 30, and I find out that Paula's rate is 2.5. I substitute back in to solve for the rate of the current, which is 1/2, which makes sense because when Paula's rate is 2.5, with the help of the current, she is half an hour faster, and against the current, she's half an hour more. On number 11, we set up the equation to have minnows plus sharks equals 25 pounds. That's our new quantity that we're making of this new mix. And we look at the cost of these things. The cost of minnows is $2.25 and the cost of sharks is $2.75. And the total cost, which is the hardest part here, is that 25 pounds times what we're charging of $2.60 a pound, giving us the total value of $65. So we have to not mess that up. Then we solve using elimination. We decided as a class to eliminate the minnows. So we did that, and we found out the sharks were 17.5 pounds out of the 25-pound mixture, leaving the minnows being 7.5. On number 12, I first solved by graphing. I chose to solve by graphing first. And when I graphed, I used pink for one equation, and I used blue for the other, and I see the one shared solution is 2, 2. Then I chose to solve using substitution because I know that y equals y. I substituted one value in for y for the other and wrote my new equations. Then I solved for x and I got 2, which I already knew x was 2. And then I substituted back in and I got 2, which I already knew was 2. Lastly, in red, I started with purple. I used elimination right here. And I know I could eliminate because I multiplied the second equation by -1. So I could eliminate the y values when I added the equations together. And I got 0 equals 5 over 2x minus 5. Then I solved for x and I got 2, which I knew was true. And I substituted back in and I got 2 for y. Now to the practice test. On number 1, it asked us to check to see if it was a shared solution. And when I substitute it in, I can see that it works for the first and second equation. So yes, it is a shared solution. On number 2, I solved by graphing. So I graphed my first equation in blue and my second equation in pink. This is just like the one on the study guide, getting my one shared solution of 1, -2. On number 3, I solved by elimination. I multiplied the top equation by 2 because I saw that they were already opposite values right here. If I just had a 2 for that y value, they would eliminate. And that's what I did. I multiplied the top equation by 2 so I could eliminate the y values. Then I solved for x and substituted back in to solve for y. And I get the shared point of 4, 1. On number 2, this was set up to substitute. So I substituted the y value in for the y value to solve for x. And then I substituted back in to solve for y. Again, don't forget to pause the video when you need to take a little more time. On number 5, I decided to solve using elimination. And when I did this, I found that all of the x values eliminated, the y values eliminated, and so did the constants. So this was 0 equals 0, which is true, right? 0 does equal 0. So I know it's infinite many solutions. On number 6, I solved by substitution, and I found out that -5 equals 4. Well, that's not true. That's false. So I know it is no solution because we don't build solutions on lies. On number 7, we have Johnny has $50.98 in a piggy bank. And we're just solving for the 98 cents here, right? Made up of nickels and pennies. Nickels and pennies for a total of 30 coins. We do one on quantity, that's what this one is. And then we do one on total value. The value of a penny is 1 cent, the value of a nickel is 5 cents, and the total value they told us. And then I went ahead and eliminated the pennies and solved for the nickels, getting 17. Then I substituted back in to solve for the pennies, getting 13. And if I look at it, 13 pennies is 13 cents, and 17 nickels is 85 cents, and 85 cents plus 13 cents is 98 cents total. On number 8, we see that Madison bought 5 pencils and 4 erasers for $1.45, but Maddie bought 2 pencils and 3 erasers for 65 cents. How much are the pencils? So we go ahead and write our equations, and I went ahead and eliminated the erasers because just because I felt like it. So I did. So I multiplied the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by -4. And solving, if I eliminate the erasers, then I solve for pencils, and it only asks me with how much the pencils cost. Sorry about that. Somebody walked in the room. I got a little distracted. Okay, so then I eliminated my erasers, solved for the pencils, getting pencils are 25 cents each. On number 9, we have Old MacDonald had a farm, and on this farm were chickens and cows. I went ahead and used K for chickens because I didn't want to have 2 C's. That doesn't make sense. So I used K for chickens. So chickens plus cows is a total of 53 heads, right? Because every animal has 1 head. And then chickens have 2 legs, where cows have 4 legs. And I decided to eliminate the chickens. So I eliminated the chickens, and I found out that I had 4 cows. I substituted back in, I found out I had 13 chickens, giving me a total of 53 animals with the proper amount of legs. On number 10, I know that I immediately, before I even look up any letters, I make this box right here. And I write right times time equals distance. And I write x plus y and x minus y. And then I solve for what I know, right? What I know is it's going to be, with the help of the wind, is going to be faster. And against the wind is going to be slower. And even though these numbers look pretty big, we end up finding out when we distribute and solve that the geese speed is 40 miles an hour. That's pretty reasonable actually for a geese. And the wind speed is 35. And that's also pretty reasonable. On number 11, we are looking at another mixture problem where we have peanuts and raisins for a total mixture of 8 pounds. That's our quantity value that we're doing. And then we do one on cost. And peanuts are $1.60 and raisins are $2.40, with a total mixture of 8 pounds at $2.20 a pound, giving me my total value of $17.60, right? I have to come up with that, so make sure you do that part on these kinds of questions. And then I went ahead and solved by elimination. I eliminated the peanuts and solved for the raisins, and then I solved for the peanuts, getting 6 pounds of raisins and 2 pounds of peanuts. That's a really raisiny mix if you think about it. Number 12 is a repeat from the study guide, so you can go back up and look at that one. 13, we have Alex and Jeremy, and when will they both be saving the same amount of money? And Alex we're representing in blue, and Jeremy we're represented in pink, and when they are the same is in 18 weeks, right? And I substituted back that in to find out how much they would have had, and in 18 weeks, they would have both saved $120. On 14, it asks me to say whether they're one solution, no solution, or infinite many. And on 14, I went ahead and solved using elimination. When I did this, I found out that, this is also a repeat question, that I eliminated the x and y's, and I get 0 equals 20, which is not true, it's false, so it's no solution. Same thing on number 15 is a repeat question. So I know that I have -2x and 2x plus 4 equals 4. and these eliminate. So I get 4 equals 4, which is infinite many solutions, right? Okay, I will see you on test day, and then we go into review week and wrap up the semester. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.